Good morning. Very warm welcome to IIHE 2021 Day 3. We are going to be getting into the forum which discusses the global perspective of from setback to bounce back, growth trajectory of the hospitality sector in India. Ladies and gentlemen, we have amongst us to give some very good observation Mr. Sanjay Khullar, who is the Vice Chairman, the Seasons Group. We also have amongst us Mr. Rajesh Kumar, who is the Chairman, IEML and Executive Director, Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts. We're also very privileged to have with us Mr. Jatin Khanna, who is the Market Head, Marriott South Asia. We're also being joined by Mr. Suresh Bhattacharya, who is the moderator of the session and the curator of IHE 2021 Awards and Conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, today also we have one of the most successful international hotelier and our guest of honor, Mr. Rajiv Menon. May I have you all to just give a huge round of applause to our speakers and our guest of honor, who is a par excellence leader under whose dynamic leadership many have learned and contributed to the growth, not just to the organization, but to the industry per se. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Very warm welcome to all our distinguished speakers and to our moderator. May I now request the moderator of the session, Mr. Suresh Bhattacharya, to kindly take over the forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sushmita. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very proud to have Mr. Rajiv Menon with us, and of course, Mr. Jatin Khanna is in our neighborhood only, quite far from Greater Noida, but very much in India and South Asia. No? But Mr. Rajiv Menon handles the entire APAC region for Marriott International, and as we know, Marriott International is the hotel chain with the largest number of rooms in the world. Is that right, Mr. Menon? And we are also proud to, I want to acknowledge the fact that Mr. Menon is from India, from Delhi. So he's a Delhi boy who now rules the world. Of course, part of it, So privileged to have you. We have limited time, unfortunately, because he has a flight to catch. So we'll go straight into the topic. And that is, we talked a year ago, and you talked about, at that time, the second wave of COVID hadn't hit India. And you were talking about the growth, the plans that you have for Marriott International in India, in South Asia. So, could you talk about where do things stand now? Because the second wave has really shaken up the world. I mean, it was very bad for India, but it has shaken up the world. Where do you see the industry going forward from here?
So there is no doubt that second wave and really the pandemic overall has had a severe impact on our industry globally, not just in India. Overall, in the last 18 months, some 180 million jobs have been displaced all around the world in the world of travel and tourism. India obviously did it extremely tough in the second wave. Businesses severely impacted. But the one thing I will say, the long-term fundamentals of travel and tourism have not changed. In fact, when you look at our company alone, just in South Asia, we just announced yesterday that in the last 18 months, we have signed 22 new deals. And that includes brands like Ritz-Carlton, JW Marriott, Courtyard by Marriott, Fairfield, Moxie, and so on. So just in India, we've signed 15 hotels, even in the worst of the times of the pandemic, and we've signed 5 JWs in India that are going to get constructed. So when you look at long-term fundamentals, I think long-term fundamentals remain really strong. And the other thing I will point out is every single time governments are able to contain the virus and ease restrictions, business comes back really, really strongly, very quickly. And we're seeing the rebound around the world. So when you look at China, for example, in July, our RevPAR, revenue per available room, was actually higher than 2019 by 9%. You look at US, which is bouncing back quickly, and India itself has an incredible domestic base, right? So I am pretty optimistic overall for the industry from a long-term perspective.
Yeah, because all the hoteliers I talk about, they sound quite bullish now than they were 3 months back. Of course, 3 months back it was like the pits, really, and we were almost wondering whether the Delta variant would just take over the world and eat up business. Luckily, it hasn't happened. The message that is coming out of this conference is that there is hope in the middle of all the doom and gloom. And the other message that is emanating from here is, and where I would like you to comment, a lot of the so-called tier 2 and 3 cities are coming into prominence, and as we know, the Marriott is opening in several of these cities. Could you enlighten us about what are your plans in these tier 2 and 3 cities? And now people are even talking about tier 4 cities, or towns. What's the plan ahead?
Sure. So today, Marriott has 125 hotels across India with 16 brands in 36 cities. So we do have a pretty strong presence and distribution across the country. When we look at our pipeline and the new deals that we've signed, by 2025, Marriott will have 200 plus hotels in India. So the growth is phenomenal. As I said earlier, the industry fundamentals remain strong over a long period of time. I think as India continues to acquire wealth, particularly the middle class, you will see tertiary markets gaining more prominence. People, particularly small, medium enterprises, will be the driver for growth. In fact, we've seen it already in the recovery over the last 2-3 months, that these tertiary markets are bouncing back quickly, because even though international corporates are working from home or trying to avoid traveling, small SME operators have to get on the road. They don't have the luxury. So I think overall the tertiary markets will continue to gain prominence, and I'm going to get Jatin to give us his perspective, purely because he's a lot more closer to the market.
In fact, we'd love to have an India perspective.
No, thank you. I think from that perspective, as Mr. Menon was saying, the business curve, if you will look at it from a wave 1 to wave 2, the bounce back has been much more stronger in second wave. Again, to the point that MSMEs are really leading the front. When you look at all the tier 2, tier 3 markets, that's where the business has really bounced back better. And that's where, when we talk from this forum perspective as well, there is a hope, and there is so much of bullishness within those markets, where we can see that they're closer to 2019 numbers as compared to what a Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi probably will be. So I think that's where there's a lot of positivity in these markets today.
And have you identified markets in this tier 2, tier 3 segment, which are really which are promising, which are like people talk about Surat or Indore, but some more markets, new markets?
So I'll tell you, it is more segment-wise. So let's take a very new segment, which is all the OTT video shoots. That's all happening today in Bhopal, Agra, for the whole rustic, stuff which is happening in our Indian cinema. When you go to manufacturing, you actually end up going into Indore. When you're in talking about pharmaceuticals, Indore and Central India starts taking. So it's segment by segment. So you really can't say which city particular, but segment by segment. And it's just not about North India. If you look at South for that matter, or West for that matter, tier 2, tier 3 markets within their own segments are doing pretty well today.
In fact, just the other day, there was the managing director of Fortune Park Hotels, which is a subsidiary of ITC. He was talking about Hubli in Karnataka, being, emerging as a big market. And now, Mr. Menon, we have so many hotels coming up, and which is a very good thing. You're talking about your pipeline. So, within 3 years, we see 75 more hotels being added to your pipeline, but what about the soft skills, the people who are going to run these hotels, especially because we have got some educators sitting in the forum. Are you happy with the kind of soft skills you're getting? I mean, people you're getting into What are you doing to upskill them, to upgrade them? I think today there's a lot of talk of multi-skilling, what is happening in Marriott International?
So what I was saying earlier, that 180 million jobs have been displaced across travel and tourism globally, and I think as we sit here today, millions of people have actually left the industry and moved on to IT and other industries overall. So as an industry, we have our work cut out over the next couple of years to not only put our arms around talent, but also to focus strongly on developing talent across the board. And this is not just an India issue, it's pretty prevalent in the West particularly, but all across the world. So I think as an organization, we are putting a lot of effort in creating digital learning zones, in creating other programs that'll help us not only attract, but more importantly, continue to develop incredible talent. Now, over the years, I can tell you that Marriott as a company in India has sent hundreds of thousands of associates overseas. And as I travel around the world, there are hundreds of general managers that are actually running Marriott hotels around the world today who started their careers in India and in other disciplines as well, revenue management, sales and marketing, finance, and so on. So I think India has incredible talent. The real issue, as I see it, really needs to be a public-private partnership to work with the government, work with private institutions, and the industry overall to not only attract the talent, but then work on grooming them, work on developing their skills. And as you said earlier, the key fact today is going to be multi-skilling. You can't just be a front desk agent. You've got to be able to do other things because at the end of the day, that's what the industry will ask for. And there is incredible use of technology. I think the industry is leapfrogged by about 5 years when we think about just how technology usage is going to increase purely because of the pandemic, right? So I think from talent point of view, 100%. The focus on not only attracting, but more importantly, developing talent over a long period of time, and then India being a key source market for some incredible talent for around the world is going to play a big part.
So in fact,
I just want to add one more thing in that, which is very, very pertinent to our company, why talent is so important. Throughout this difficult period as well, we were one of the companies who did not stop their management training program, which is the Voyager, and you'll be all happy to know that even when we are going into the next year batch, that's actually more than what we were doing pre-COVID.
So how many people have you recruited this year?
We generally try and take around 100 students, and for next year we're almost looking at 120 again within the Voyager program, and that really shows our focus on talent and our future pipeline.
That's incredible. I mean, Abdullah, your students have a good sort of future ahead. And I can assure you, look, I first met him, of course he won't remember, but I first saw Mr. Menon in Melbourne. I think, was it Melbourne or Sydney? In Sydney, yeah. And, you were the general manager of this hotel, and I'm talking about long time, about 2002 or 2004, maybe that time, And I was so thrilled to see an Indian general manager of an Australian hotel, And I remember the person who took us, and they said, you must remember this name, Rajiv Menon. Of course, over the years I forgot about the name, but then suddenly this name came back to me some 3 or 4 years back, And then my memory clock sort of started whirring. So Indians are doing very well. In fact, I believe Sandeep Walia, he's the CEO, I think. What are the international prospects of an Indian student getting out of a hospitality management institution?
So I'm a big believer of talent, particularly Indian talent. And as I was saying earlier, over the years that Marriott has been in India, we have sent hundreds of thousands of associates all over the world. And today you can show up in Canada, you can show up in the US, you can show up in Latin America, you can show up in Africa, Middle East, of course Asia, even China. You will find Indians, Indian general managers, Indian discipline leads, running businesses. And it just, as far as I'm concerned, Indian talent have incredible ability to adapt, right? And with the tenacity and the focus on delivering best results, they tend to excel quite well across the industry. So I remain pretty bullish, not only from hotel industry point of view, but also from entrepreneurs' point of view. I mean, you look at Sanjay. He started his career in the industry and then moved out some 30 years ago and became an entrepreneur, one of the most successful entrepreneurs there is.
He ran the most successful nightclub in the city, Gungru. He was the king of Gungru.
Yeah. We were all young kids trying to line up to get in.
So we had to know Sanjay Khullar more than anyone else.
Well, those were the good times. Now things have changed and a lot of new technologies have come in, and the kind of scene in the hospitality you see now in India is amazing. And I can see a very bright future for all the students who are studying in the hospitality sector and hotel management. I'm sure they have a good future to come up with so many hotels coming up in India and international, and the Indians are ruling it, so they will always get the benefit. Thank you.
By the way, Sanjay has launched his frozen kebab brand at this fair, and so I think very soon all Marriott hotels will be serving you frozen kebabs. Hopefully, let's hope for that.
It's a new deviation, because things are changing after pandemic, so everybody's just going what to do new, and this is I've done for Europe. So technically I've started, but it will be based in Bulgaria, and we will be serving these kebabs in Europe and UK.
How are we doing on time, Sanjay? We have time for 5, 6. Okay, so time for 2 questions at least. Jatin, I'll ask you this question because about the delivery business. We never, pre-pandemic, no hotel would ever be delivering food. I mean that was unheard of. But today every hotel has a delivery brand. We know about the Taj, we know about ITC. What about Marriott? Marriott also has Marriott on Wheels, I think. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So Soresh, Marriott Bonvoy on Wheels is within this COVID period, I would say, is one of the most successful innovation we have done, and I'm loosely using innovation for a simple reason. It's just not about food delivery, but what we really realized is that what is the experience behind. And we're proud to tell you that when you order through Marriott, and we've got our own platforms where you order directly without any third-party interface, you actually get exactly the same service as you would get in a JW K3 or in a JW Bangalore Spice Kitchen or anything like that. So from a delivery perspective, what the whole experience comes together is absolutely great. And the biggest thing what we realize during this time is about family time. And when you look at all the stuff which is happening on third party, what happens, we really realize that we need to do a lot of our combo and family meals to create those family bonding time. While people were not able to go out, we were the first brand who were actually bringing Sunday brunches on your table. So that
and really K3 is famous for its Sunday brunch.
Absolutely. Whether you go to K3, you go to
oh yeah, of course.
Any city of ours, you go to Ahmedabad, to Bangalore, to Bombay, you'll find that we almost roughly on an average do 100 to 120 covers for Sunday brunches through deliveries, which is as good as running an all-day dining in your hotel. So I think that has been really good, and the whole innovation is about the experience which our hotels have created around that.
And it's so much better to have a nicely uniformed, a well-spoken guy coming and delivering something than some Zomato driver coming, in a torn shirt and delivering something. It's a great variety. I mean, I'm sorry, I dropped a brand name, but it's a world of difference.
No, absolutely, and nothing wrong against those third-party aggregators, but we wanted to create our novelty factor and keep that uniqueness, and I think that's where we've been able to position. I don't want to get into dollars and cents, but I can tell you it is by far better than anywhere you will see. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, so Mr. Menon, last word to you. You know India, China very well. Of course, the India and the whole of where does India stand in terms of, because there is this feeling in India that we don't have enough hotels, than that we should, compared with China. Talking about a pipeline in China, you talk on thousands, So where do we stand, and how, what sort of growth do you see, say, 10 years later, or within the next 10 years?
So I think, again, I look back to 20 years ago when I came across to India, and they were really less than, around, say, 50,000 branded hotel rooms. Today, that number is crossing well over 300,000. So India is on the move. Now, again, China is altogether a different story. They've been able to develop the infrastructure very quickly. That economy in the last 30 years is done exceptionally well. And also, Chinese outbound travel today is the single biggest outbound country in the world. 150 million Chinese went out to travel the world in 2019. So they've moved pretty fast, and as a result, their number of hotels open there are a lot more than India. But I think India is going to continue to show steady progress over the years. As I said, only 20 years ago, we had really 3 hotels in this country. And you look today, we have 125. As I said, in the next 3 to 4 years, we'll end up at about 200 odd hotels. So it's pretty good progress. You can't really, when you look around Asia Pacific, other than China, I think India is delivering some exceptional growth story, and that is going to continue for decades to come. So I think, again, you talked about the secondary, tertiary markets, which are exceptionally well developed in China, and that's happening in India now, right? So when you look at, say, the US, which has well over 5 million hotel rooms and a population of 300 million people, India has 1.3 billion people. So as everybody acquires wealth, you will see the number of hotels and hotel rooms grow at an exponential pace. So for the talent in the industry, for people who supply products to our industry, for folks that are actually building hotels, I think long term there is incredible optimism from a long-term perspective. Thank
Great.
you.
I think we must. So Sanjay has been gesturing to me for the past 2 minutes. We have overshot the time limit, I think, by a minute or two, but you're still within your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming all the way from Singapore, and now you're off to Dubai, I believe. The exposition is happening in a very big way there. All set for that. So Shweta, please.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful session. Thank you, the moderator of the session, for wonderfully conducting and concluding the session. I would say truly a session which generated hope and putting forth a mantra of to survive, to revive, and thrive. Thank you once again, August audience, for being part of this session. And we once again would like to extend our gratitude to our speakers. And if you could just give us a moment to picture this and take a group photograph, just to capture this moment. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the forum on the global perspective. Presenting a token of memory, a memento to our distinguished speaker and our guest of honor. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together and get some more energy in the hall, and thank our distinguished speakers who's given us their valuable ideation and their time.